All right. 7, because it relies on information that you carry over from the first step. It's really important that you understand the first step. So it says Jill's collecting honey from 9 different beehives and recorded the amount collected in gallons from each hive in the line plot. So this one right here is 1 gallon. This line right here is 2 gallons. This line right here is 3 gallons. Okay. And then it says she wants to write the value of each point marked on the number line above. So point A is right here. And I know that A is worth 0 gallons because it's above, it's something, but it's still less than 1. So since it's between 0 and 1, it has 0 gallons. A point between 1 and 2 would be 1 gallon and some more, and a point between 2 and 3 would be more than 2 gallons but less than 3. Okay, well, how did they figure out that this is 3 quarts? Okay, well, let's take a look at that. So I can see these hash marks here. I'm going to mark them with my ruler. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And if I count the 1, which I should because that takes me all the way up, I get an 8. Well, I know if I draw my big G for gallon, inside my gallon there are 4 quarts. And inside each quart is 2 pints. And I can draw them all because I need to do that. So if there's 2 here, and there would be 4 there, and this would be 6 and 8. Because there are 8 pints within this quart, this would have to be 1 pint, 2 pints, 3 pints, 4 pints, 5 pints, 6 pints, 7 pints, 8 pints. You might be like, hey, Mrs. Z, it says that there's 0 points, and you said this was 6. That's true. But I'm going to switch to a different color now, and I'm going to show you that every 2 pints is a quart. So this would be 1 pint, 2 pints, but this is also 1 quart. 3 pints, 4 pints, but 4 pints is also 2 quarts. 5 pints, 6 pints. 6 pints is also 3 quarts. 7 pints, 8 pints. 8 pints is the same as 1 gallon. Okay, so every slash is a pint, but every 2 slashes is a quart, and every 8 slashes is a gallon. So I can see here, we already discussed this is 0 gallons because it's more than 0, but it's still less than 1. And then every 2, so 1, 2, that's 1 quart. 3, 4, that's 2 quarts. 5, 6, this X right here is on the 6th slash, which is the same as 3 quarts. Now, there's nothing more than that. There's no pints. However, if I put an X here, well, that we'll name that X M. M would still have 0 gallons because it's in between 0 and 1. It would also have 3 quarts because it's already hit that 3 quart mark right here, but then it would have 1 pint because it's 1 slash beyond that. Okay, I can't reflect this as a whole gallon because it's in between the 0 and the 1. So I have to use those steps to figure it out. Going on to part B, it says find the total amount of honey collected from the 5 hives that produce the most honey. Well, each X is a hive. Now, this hive is between 0 and 1, so it's not going to be the most. The further we go on the number line this way, the greater it's going to get, right? These numbers are greater the further we get to the right, and the numbers on the left then are worth less. So I'm looking for the 5 X's that are closest to this. And then I have to figure out how much are each of those X's worth. You either multiply if they're all worth the same thing or add them all together. Looking at question C, I no longer need that information. I'm starting over. They're giving me an amount. They're saying Jill collected 19 gallons of honey. If she distributes the honey equally between 9 jars, how much will be in each jar? So you're going to need to think about, if I'm taking this 19 gallons and I'm putting equal amounts inside of every single one of these jars, how much is going to go in each one? What kind of math would split up that 19 gallons of honey between each of the jars? Now, and a lot of people are like, Mrs. E, that's not going to split up equally. That's true. So you can express your remainder as a fraction. You can express your remainder as a decimal, though in this case I had a lot of people who are like, Mrs. E, the decimal's not working out for me. You can't just ignore it though, because then there's some honey that's not split up. If you need help figuring out what kind of math to do or how to do that kind of math, you're going to want to refer back to part 1 or 2, because it's the same kind of math that you did on the first page. Now we go into question D, and it says Jill used 3/4 of a jar for baking. So you're going to have to take your total from part C, and then you're going to have to find out what is 3/4 of that total, because she's only using part of it. So if you think about splitting that jar, however much that jar was that you find out, and then you need 3 of the 4 pieces. How much would that be? Looking at question E, it says Jill's mom used 1/4 of a gallon to bake 3 loaves of bread. So we'd have to divide up that 1/4 gallon. That's our whole. That's the whole amount of honey that she used. We'd have to divide that up between the 3 loaves of bread. Looking down at letter F, it says Jill's mom stored some of the honey in a container that held 3/4 of a gallon. She used half of this amount to sweeten tea. So we're really finding half of that 3/4. And question G says Jill used some of her honey to make lotion. If each bottle requires 1/4 of a gallon and she used a total of 3 gallons, how many bottles of lotion does she make? So you've got to think, what's the total that she has, the total amount of honey, and then she's splitting it up into how many size pieces. Draw a picture, or again refer back to page 1, because the math on this page is not any different than the math on the first page. It's just that it's embedded in a word problem. Good luck.